All right, we're recording. So welcome again, everybody. Wanted to dive into a little bit of details of what makes Chive Charities, who we are. Some of you guys have just read our stories and maybe haven't, and maybe you're new. Maybe you don't know what our mission officially is because we don't put that out there every single time. And some of you guys, don't get to see all of our stories. So we just wanted to share some of our information, share our behind the scene numbers with you, kind of applaud you guys for all the impact that you've made since 2012 when we incorporated, and open it up to any questions you guys have, as well as introduce Melissa Smith. Some of you guys are longtime donors and you'll remember Melissa Smith, our most successful Flash charity campaign that we held back in 2013. I had Melissa on and was talking with her a few minutes ago, and she can't believe that it's been 5 years since she's moved into her house that the Chivers helped build for her. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. I think I will unmute some of the Chive Charities team just in case they want to come in. So Kelly, I'm going to unmute you. Again, I'm unmuting you. If your dogs start barking, I'm going to mute you. So
totally fair.
Awesome. Well, welcome again, everybody. So to start off, for anybody that hasn't actually officially seen our vision and our mission, it's kind of evolved over time, just the same way the Chive community has evolved. And we started out, really looking at who we were helping back in the day. This is back in 2009, 2010, when the Chive started out really as an online community. And a lot of the submissions started to come in from the community, and they started to see that people started to ask for help. And with that came, kind of a responsibility, because we started to write these stories. And, Fluvanna County Rescue was the first one. We helped raise $34,000 in less than a couple of hours. And it was like, hey, wow, we've got a responsibility to do this more. And as time went on, it really galvanized the Chive community. So we started Chive Charities as a 501c3 to do that a little bit more responsibly, to do it more often. And here we are today. Through the years, our mission has adapted a little bit from, helping everybody from veterans, first responders, and people with rare medical diagnoses. We also helped people with, special education needs. And we've since taken that off of our mission. We also did disaster relief, but we've kind of figured out that when we do disaster relief funds and flash charity campaigns, we mainly do those through the Chive. And so it just kind of muddies the water, and to give all of you, because you're our stakeholders, you're our donors, just a simplified way about talking about Chive Charities, kind of refined it down and distilled it down to a simple vision. And this is something that you can take and talk to your friends about when you're wearing your Chive Charities shirts. You can tell them, Chive Charities exist to aid the helpers and the helpless. So who are those helpers? They are the veterans, first responders, and people that, are disabled from those communities. And then the helpless, the people with rare medical diagnoses that don't have anywhere else to turn. And this is something that, is somewhat new for us using this language, the helpers and the helpless, but I think it's going to be very key to kind of spreading our message going forward, and just being a simple way. I'll be the first to admit that over the 7-8 years of Chive Charities, when I've, done my elevator pitch and talked to people, I've probably said our mission probably 50 different ways. But I think this is just the easiest way for us to kind of go forward. And we're excited to share that with you guys. So Chive Charities supports veterans, first responders, and rare medical diagnoses with life-changing grants, and by raising awareness through storytelling. No, you guys aren't strangers to what we do, but if you want to take this, and we will most likely send this to everybody after the fact. And Erica and the team has put together a really great a really great presentation that we can share, that will kind of rehash all of this, just in case you guys have people that are reaching out to you that are like, I want to learn more about Chive Charities. So look for that to come. So what have we done? Our Chive Charities impact, like I said, we've been around since December 11th, 2012, when we launched Zoe Lush's campaign. Some of you may remember that. We raised $100,000 for her in a couple of hours. Little Zoe's doing great nowadays. But since then, we've raised nearly $14 million in aid for the underdogs. We're about $45,000 short of $14 million at this point. And we've aided 370 recipients. That may be news to some people that, signed on to donate because of a story that just moved you in a way that, you didn't think was possible. And you just wanted to donate $5 or $10 or $100 a month. But we are writing stories 1 to 2 times a week. In fact, this past week we had 2 stories. So it's incredible how far we've come. And I think, we are putting ourselves in the position to where other charities are kind of looking at Chive Charities and saying, wow, how are your donors doing what they're doing? We've helped, thousands of people. We've done 21,000 impactful experiences. 812 pieces of medical equipment. We've helped, hundreds of recipients. One of the things that I'm most proud of, 141 ADA accessible vehicles. And I don't know if there's another charity out there that's purchased that many wheelchair accessible vans. I don't know if there's a organization, for profit or nonprofit, that's done that much. So that's something we're really, really proud of, being kind of the Oprah of wheelchair accessible vans. So you probably see that a lot with our stories. And yeah, 43 first responders, 74 veterans, 230 rare medical sufferers. And some of those actually are from veteran families and first responder families. So we didn't break that out here, but a lot of what the Chive was built off of are our active service, our veterans, and our first responders. So we always want to pay heed to, our heroes and our helpers. So a lot of people have kind of been wondering, what are the effects of COVID-19? It's been such an uncertain time. People, I'll admit, I freaked out a little bit myself when, you turn on the news and all you see is gloom and doom. Well, like I mentioned, Chive Nation, our Chive Charities donors are unique in the fact that, when the going gets tough, they kick it into gear. And the crazy thing is, and something that I didn't really see coming, is in the past 30 days, we've actually grown 4.4% in subscription donors. And for those of you that don't know, subscriptions make up about 2/3 of our revenue. And so it's really the lifeblood of Chive Charities. It all starts there with all of you guys, because the more subscription donors, monthly donors we have, the more people that we can help, the more Melissa Smiths, the more Zoe Lushes, the more Brandies. And so the fact that we've actually grown since the country's been on lockdown says a lot about our community. And that's something I'm so, so proud of. And to be honest, I keep waiting for the day to be like, okay, people are going to start canceling their subscriptions because, they've got bills to pay and stuff like that. But every single week, it's like, the Chive donors keep kicking in, and we're growing during a time that you would think other charities are really struggling. So we don't want that to go swept under the rug, how grateful we are for every single one of you, and how incredible it is that you guys are just really knocking it out of the park and allowing us to help all of those people who are in need now more than ever. So March, we actually finished with the highest subscription revenue total since August of 2016. That's absolutely huge. Again, it's just nothing that I think other charities are witnessing right now. And we're getting emails from other people like, how do you do it? And to be honest, it's because of all of you. So it's not just over the past couple of weeks too. We are 8% overall. We've grown year over year in revenue from January through March 2019 through 2020, which all of this just goes to say that because we bring in more money, we can help more people. One of the other questions that we get from donors all the time is like, how much of the, my donor dollars go to helping people in need? Well, we are proud to say that we're at 80% program percentage. And that is something that's, something we should all be proud of. If you're above 60%, that's good. 70% is great. 80% is rarefied air. No real charities are at the true 100% model, because, you've got some overhead. no matter what it is. We've got things like shirts that we send out. We've got, you know, computers and things like that. But the grand majority of everything that we bring in goes to our recipients. And, you know, we share those stories with you, and I hope you guys all appreciate that. So we now have 3,210 active subscriptions, and you kind of see the breakdown there. You know, 28% bronze, 35% silver, and between gold and green, we're, you know, another 35%, which is absolutely incredible. And something that we've seen over the past year is that the percentage of green and gold donors has actually gone up, which I think is amazing given the fact that, you know, we've got these financial uncertainties going on. So again, kudos to everybody. And so, you know, given the fact that revenue is kind of going up for us, you know, we're helping more and more people. A lot of people don't know this, but every 3 to 4 months, we sit in a room and we select the next recipients. You're actually looking at a picture or several pictures of all the recipients that are upcoming. You know, every 3 to 4 months, we choose anywhere from 16 to 22 recipients. So that'll be an average of about 1.5 recipients per week that we help out. Our average grant donation is about $30,000 per grant, which, you know, again, is incredible. These are life-changing grants. We're not just going in and getting a small item. We're changing these people's lives and setting them up for success. And again, thanks to all of you, you know, we've got this community that we can plug our recipients into. And Melissa Smith is a person that, you know, more than anybody would show you and tell you that, you know, she was plugged into the Chive Nation, and they've been a huge help for her, just connecting and just helping her, you know, stay positive and helping with demolition on her house and everything. So, you know, once we write these stories and we help these recipients, they become a part of our family. And so these are, I believe, 19 recipients that are upcoming. Some of them we've actually written so far, but peek behind the curtains, these are the upcoming stories. It basically breaks down to about $125,000 a month that we release in grants. You know, any given quarter, we may say, hey, you know what, we brought in a little bit more. We've got some more donors. We got a sponsor that came in. So we may up that to $130,000. Towards the end of the year, we sometimes up that up to, you know, $140,000, $150,000 per month, which is incredible. And that's a lot of vans that Kelly and the programs team can give away. So it's something that we're really, really proud of. Other effects with COVID, you know, we've talked to a lot of our recipients, and the good thing is we haven't heard anybody directly affected or infected by COVID-19. You know, a lot of our recipients are reaching out to us and saying, hey, you know, they've got their doctor's appointments, and some of them have to go to hospitals. For example, Oakley had a catheter problem. He's in the lower right here. He was asking for some prayers and still needs them because they had to go to the hospital to take care of his catheter issue. I believe we helped him back in 2019 or 2013. Cute little boy. He's got prune belly syndrome, and yeah, he had to go in, and it's just a scary time because most of our recipients have lower immunity, and so, you know, if they contract the virus, that could be, you know, pretty horrific for them. So some prayers for Oakley that, you know, he didn't contract it and that, you know, he can keep living his best life. Some other really cool updates for those of you that have been following Chive Charities Twitter, Facebook, go on to Chive, and I have actually seen our Freeway to 50 campaign. Brandy was the story that we released that with. Brandy is actually our first North Dakota recipient. And so we've got 5 other states that we're looking to fill, which all of you can help us with. So if you see anybody in need from Mississippi, West Virginia, Hawaii, Alaska, DC, and I believe Maine is our other state, send them to Chive Charities. You know, we're actually ramping up our aid right now. So, you know, where other charities may not be able to help a little bit more and they're reining back, we're trying to find more people. So we need you guys to help us find those recipients. Brandy in particular, she's a former first responder that was forced to quit her job due to a rare medical illness that she had. and we helped renovate her house, and her floors are finished. At the time of writing the story, because of all of what's going on, she couldn't get the contractors out there. We couldn't actually get the grant completed before the story, but I think it makes for a cool update. So you see her floors before and after there. And then Roz, another really cool update. She was the previous Flash Charity campaign. We helped her in March of 2019. She's out of Dayton, Ohio, and she's got Rasmussen encephalitis. And she actually had half of her brain disconnected and removed. So basically she's operating with half of a brain, and she's more inspiring, and she does more than, I do. But she is, after she was diagnosed and they disconnected the right side of her brain, they said she probably wouldn't walk again. And within a year she was dancing. And so she just had another musical performance, and she's just taken on the world. Love Roz. So some upcoming stories. We've got actually Heather, who's from Peyton, Colorado. That was actually released today. So depending on whether or not you've been on the Chive, you may have seen it. So she enlisted in the Army after 9/11 and, had some injuries, caused some permanent physical and emotional damage. She also has POTS, which is a rare medical illness. And we ended up getting some service dog training for her little pup. So great to see her connected with our community. And Bryson. So this is the little boy that we're going to be helping next week. He's all smiles. He's from Mill Springs, North Carolina. He was diagnosed with lysencephaly 1, and that causes constant seizures. So he's got multiple seizures a day. Happiest boy you'll ever see. What we got for him was a wheelchair accessible van. Again, look out for that next week. And that should be released Wednesday in case, unless there's something that happens to where that doesn't happen. So with that, I wanted to, for those of you who haven't met her, introduce Melissa Smith. Let me unmute you here. Melissa was one of our amazing Flash Charity campaign recipients. We helped her, I believe, October 2019, or was that when we met you?
15, right?
No, 2014.
14, yeah.
We met you in 2013. We released the campaign in 2014.
Yes.
And
God, you can see all my teeth in that picture.
that beautiful smile, you still got it. Look at that. So Melissa, I just wanted to kind of get a little bit of your backstory. You were 22 years old. You were a bartender, right, in Annapolis, Maryland. Everything, you wanted to study to become a nurse at that
I was
point.
in nursing school, yeah.
Nursing school, right. And then you just kind of tell us what happened.
Well, actually, when I was 22, I wasn't in nursing school yet. I was still at Towson, and I just was like a liberal arts degree. I had no idea what I was doing. But I graduated college in 2006. And that's when I got cancer the first time. Was my last semester of college. But I finished, and I was having chemotherapy in the meantime, but I just kind of sucked it up. I sucked it up. It was my last semester. I walked across the stage.
So it was Hodgkin's lymphoma,
was Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Which, the first time you get it, it's, very beatable, right?
It is. It's 90% chance of a cure rate.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so then I was in that lucky 10% that got it twice.
And with that relapse, it gets, not that it's not serious, but things become a lot more real, because with that,
Absolutely.
you've got to treat it a lot more aggressively. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I actually had to live at Hopkins for quite a while. I couldn't leave the floor that I was on for 30 days because I had to have a bone marrow transplant.
Mm-hmm.
So my white blood counts went down to 0. So I was off limits to people and everything. I was really, really, really sick. That was a hard time for me, but I stayed pretty positive. I had such a good support system. It was just hard for me to accept the fact that then I had gotten accepted into nursing school. and I had to put it on hold because after I graduated college and got cancer, I realized finally that I did want to be a nurse. So that's what I went back to school for after the first time. um,
And
so
you,
that was a hard pill to swallow, just to have to put my life on hold. I was 26 and, super healthy, like healthier. Actually, my lungs were in better shape when I went into cancer the second time than they were when I was 22 because I had gotten in such great health afterwards.
wow.
But
Yeah. And so they had to treat it a lot more aggressively. Like the chemo was pretty
extremely
intense.
aggressive chemotherapy. Like they called it the big guns. It was like the toughest chemo. And it was just brutal. I mean, my hair fell out in like 12 days of beginning chemotherapy. And I was just sick all the time. I think I went down to 100 pounds. I was just deathly ill. It was brutal.
Yeah. And so how long did the chemo last before you actually went into remission a second time?
So I had all of that chemotherapy for quite a while. And then I also had to do 28 days of radiation in a row, which was really, really hard, actually. I thought radiation would be the easy part, but it literally like burns through your skin.
You still there, Melissa?
Here.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, so the radiation was pretty hard. But after that, by November of 2000, what was it? I got it in 2012. November of 2013, I was in remission.
Wow.
No, am I right? No, 2011. I got it in 2010 the second time. I'm sorry, my dates like get blurry sometimes. So 2010 I got it, and then 2011 November I finished my last day of radiation.
Wow. And then, so you went into remission for a couple of years, was it, before you started to feel a tingle in your foot?
Not even a whole year.
Okay.
It was November of 2011, and then March of 2012 is when I started to have that tingling in my foot one night.
This is after beating cancer twice and having high hopes to potentially go back to nursing school.
Yeah, they held my spot, and so I was going to go back into nursing school the following semester that spring. And I was like on cloud 9 positive. Like I was so happy I got through that because it was a scary time. I knew I was gonna get through it. Like I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, but there were definitely days where I thought I was gonna die, and I never felt that way before. Like the first time, I knew that was not an option.
Yeah.
But I was so sick sometimes, I was afraid I wasn't gonna make it. So losing my train of thought.
No, so you get the tingle in your foot, and at this point you are, you've obviously beaten cancer twice. You maybe in the back of your head you're like, this is weird.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you don't want to freak anybody out because you've got family around you that's seen you go through hell, and you don't want, it's probably just as hard on them as it is on you, and you don't want to put them through that again, right?
Sometimes I think it may have been harder on them. I don't know. But yeah, and I also I didn't like to overthink things either. Like I didn't want to be like a hypochondriac just because, I got so sick before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I kind of just pushed it off, but then I went to sleep that night, and the next morning my calf was numb too.
Wow.
So when I got up that day, it was harder to walk, and my left foot was dragging a bit. But I went to work, I dealt with it. Looking back, I had been having severe lower back pain for a few weeks. And turns out that's one of the first symptoms. But I was nannying and bartending. So I was working 80 hours a week. So to me, my back hurt because I was always on my feet.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like you, at this point, you've got a very high pain tolerance.
I have
So
a very high pain tolerance, yes.
yeah, yeah. So you probably are sweeping it under the rug, not a big deal. Then you wake up, the whole left side of your body is starting to kind of lose feeling, right?
Yeah, and I also was a runner, so I just attributed it to so many other things.
Yeah, yeah.
But that happened, and then gradually I started to feel the same kinds of things in my right leg. With most people, I've learned that just from like physical therapy and meeting people with transverse myelitis, most people sort of like get symptoms and they're paralyzed within like 3 or 4 hours.
Wow. So yours was like the slow onset.
Mine was a slower onset. It was really strange
Yeah.
because so then I had ended up going to the hospital 4 times because of the numbness and the tingling and the pain I was in. And they did like 4 spinal taps and all these scans, but everything came back clear.
Yeah.
Had they done an MRI on my spine, then we would have known.
Mm.
But they didn't do that.
But was there really anything that they could have done for you back then? Like at that point?
At that point, yes. If they had, this was actually like a huge thing we found out later. Had they given me high doses of steroids, then when I had just lost feeling, chances are I would have issues, but I would be walking.
Got it. Got it.
That's happened with a lot of people. I know a lot of people with TM, but a lot of them walk.
Yeah. So eventually you are paralyzed from the chest down, correct?
Down.
And at this point, you already know that it's transverse myelitis.
Yeah, I had went to Hopkins and they did like all of these different tests on me. Finally did an MRI of my brain and my spinal cord and found out that it was definitely transverse myelitis.
Which for everybody here is that basically, most likely the white blood cells that were helping fight the cancer, you know, essentially they went and attacked your spine.
Exactly.
Right. So eventually, you know, the thing that helped save you ended up causing you more pain.
Exactly. It did almost cross so it got to my blood-brain barrier. And at that point, the doctors at Hopkins actually told my family that I wasn't going to make it through the weekend, that I was going to pass away that weekend. That was on a Thursday. And I was in a psychosis state of mind at that point. So I was a complete psychopath. I don't remember any of it, thank God, because I was mean and ugly and crazy.
Yeah.
But that was on a Thursday. And then out of nowhere, on Sunday, I woke up. And I don't know, you guys probably don't know that much about quads and paraplegics, but my hands were curled in like a quad. And I couldn't write and I couldn't like use my hands or anything. But I was alive and they were shocked.
Wow.
So a few days after that, they had started the high dose steroids, and that's what kept me alive, because had it crossed my blood-brain barrier, I would have died for sure.
Wow.
So they gave me those meds and it calmed it down to my chest level where I am now. And then after a few days, I was able to use my hands again and I started to be able to write and everything, and started to come back to life, really.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a happy time.
No. And where were you at, like at that time? You had your own apartment in Annapolis.
I did.
Yeah. And so you got eventually released from the hospital.
I got released from the hospital. I went into a rehab. That was just terrifying and awful experience for about a month. And then I got sent home and I lived on a 3rd floor apartment. There was no elevator. So my life turned into my bedroom. Those 4 walls are all I saw. Literally, I couldn't leave to do anything because I had no way out. The only way I could get out is if a family member carried me down 3 flights of steps, and I would only ever ask to leave my house for important doctor's appointments because I felt like such a burden and a pain in the ass. Like, I didn't want anybody to have to do that. And also, I had a big, annoying ego. So I just didn't want the help. I was like, I'm not putting other people through this.
Yeah. I mean,
So unless,
you were essentially, and this is the way that I kind of look at it, like our recipients, they have to self-quarantine. Some of them aren't self-quarantine. It's like they're forced into, they have mobility issues. They don't have a choice.
and you
Um,
lose your mind in that
and you lose your
setting.
mind. So like this whole COVID-19, this is a small 1/100th, 1/1000th of a peek into what it's like to live day to day as some of our recipients. So just to put
My
that into perspective, you know.
Yeah, and you know what else? I didn't have any contact with friends or anybody because I felt so ashamed of the state I was in. Like I didn't want anyone to even see me.
Yeah.
I felt weak. I felt like, why can't I get better? Like, why can't I get myself better? And I just felt like so shameful.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I still feel like that when I go out in a wheelchair sometimes. I mean, I'm way better, don't get me wrong. But sometimes I'll still go out and I'm just like, what are people thinking? Like, I just feel like ashamed of myself if I can't get into a building or if I'm just not capable of doing something. I feel all this shame. And that's a horrible way to think of things, but it's the truth.
Well, I mean, I think you can always fall back on the fact that you've inspired millions. Like the fact that like when I'm having a tough day and I'm like, holy shit, like think about what Melissa's been through, some of our other recipients. And I know that there are certainly a lot of people on this call that, you know, the first time that they donated to any sort of cause at all was in connection to your story, which, you know, fast forward, I believe maybe it was a year from you, maybe a year from that point when you're kind of getting your life back together a little bit, you're stabilizing a little bit. And you had some local fundraisers and things like that. But when you're talking about months and months and months of hospital stays and,
Oh my
you
God.
know, like any amount that you're going to raise is going to be gone, you know, like that.
Right.
So
And I don't think people really understand that. Like medical, like chronic illnesses, they don't end. You know what I mean?
mhm,
That goes on forever. Like those bills, those horrible situations, they just go on for so long.
yeah, yeah,
And I lost everything. I lost my job. I don't care about this now, but I lost my boyfriend of 5 years. I lost a lot of friends,
mhm, mhm,
actually. I lost all of my independence. Every single thing I needed help doing.
yeah,
Everything.
yeah,
Feeding myself, showering myself. Like
mhm, mhm,
for the longest time I had like a catheter bag. So I'm like, I'm 28 years old, rolling around with a bag of urine attached to my leg. Like,
yeah.
excuse my language, but fuck that.
Yeah,
So,
you're allowed to be, you know, mad. And so, you know, you've got these things going on. Your sister, Stephanie, who is amazing,
oh
is the
my God.
one that like reaches out to Chive Charities, fills out um, an application for you. You know, we see this and we're like, oh my gosh, this is one of the most inspiring stories, and we haven't even talked to you on the phone yet. Um, and
Yeah,
so
I had no idea.
and a lot of
I
times,
knew Stephanie reached out, but I had no idea.
and with these flash charity campaigns, a lot of times we will reach out to recipients that we're going to help. And Chive Charities always, and our donors lead the way, which is why our monthly donors are so important. So we will, you know, fulfill a grant that really changes the life of that recipient. And then we'll talk to them or we'll go out and meet them and then see that like, wow, this person has so much more of a need that I think Chive Nation can step up and go above and beyond. We didn't even meet you, and maybe we had one conversation on the phone. And we're like, yep, this is a flash charity campaign. You didn't know what that was at that time. I don't even know if you
No,
knew what the Chive was at that time, but you know, we got on a plane, went out to Annapolis, hid in the corner of a
my
bar,
favorite
your
bar.
favorite bar. And so you're walking or you're, you know, rolling down the street, and kind of walk us through what that moment was like.
Oh my gosh, that was the craziest moment ever. I my I was in like a meeting beforehand And my mom and my sister were like, why don't we go to get lunch at Dock Street? Because they have the best crab cake ever. And I was like, still kind of like not a fan of public yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, let's go. And I know the owner really well, so I wanted to see him anyways. And when we were walking up, my sister goes, is everything okay? Are we good? Brian?
Yes, we're good. We're good stuff.
Okay, my screen just changed for some reason.
All good.
As soon as she like goes to open the door, my sister goes, are you ready? And I was like, for what? And we open the door and you guys are all there and like everybody screams and I see green, green, green. And I just knew, and then I just lost it.
Yeah. So at that point, you did know what the chive was?
Yeah, at that point I did. Because my sister did tell me like she reached out to you guys, and then I did some research and saw what everything was about. And I mean, I had no idea that was gonna be for me.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And to be honest,
at that point I knew.
At that point we didn't know because we had never had a flash charity campaign to that level, and we still haven't. So where
that's incredible.
Like GoFundMe was basically reaching out to us saying like, we've never seen anything like this. And to this day, I don't think they've actually seen the rate that donations came in, even with, some of the disasters that have happened. This tops it all. And so, John does his thing. He crafts the story, releases it. I think we ended up FaceTiming or whatever it was back in the day, like throughout the campaign with you. But where were you when the whole the story was going down, and what were you doing? Like, were you refreshing the GoFundMe page?
So that was actually that was such a great day. So I did like a little Facebook message to like local people. We went to, I can see somebody typing to me. We went to a little coffee bar next to my house. Can you close the door? Sorry, my nephew's on Xbox and he is a screamer. So we went to a little coffee bar and we had the computer up and I read John's story out loud. And then so I guess the story went live, like as I was reading, and literally before I could hit refresh, we went to the page and it was already at like 10 grand. And this is like 30 seconds in. So we were blown. And I was like sitting there, and maybe like by a half an hour, it was up to 50,000.
Yeah.
And I was at the same time like trying to reply to everybody's messages on GoFundMe as they came in.
Thousands of them.
I did that for 24 hours. My phone and my computer crashed actually, because I was just typing away. And my friends, everybody on Facebook that's local to me, just like were writing messages about how they were refreshing all night, refreshing. And I think by the time I went to bed that night, it was at 250,000.
Yeah. And eventually makes it up to over $400,000, which to this day, I think the next closest that we had was maybe 275,000 or something like that. Yeah, Taylor Morris. We had with Special Kids Care in Oklahoma, we did, I want to say close to 200,000, but
unbelievable.
But I think it's the relatability, all of the stories that we release have some sort of relatability where it's like, I may not know Melissa Smith personally, but everybody knows someone who's suffered from cancer.
100%.
You could be like my best friend outside of all of this, and that's the cool thing about Chive Charities, the Chive Nation, everybody on this call. It's like, we're all kind of, even though we may not know each other personally, we're all kind of connected through goodwill and wanting to make the world 10% happier. And I think that was, one of the best examples of it. Just democratic process. We throw out a link, we put up a story, and you guys dictate how it goes. And lo and behold, I think we wanted to get a down payment or maybe help get you into a wheelchair accessible rental home.
Yeah.
and get you out of that third floor apartment. And, you know, now all of a sudden we're
That out
talking
of the
about,
water.
let's just build the whole house.
Right.
And so,
So, I mean, that's basically what we did. I mean, this house was such a piece of junk when we got it. And a lot of people here were here and they helped me demo this house. Well, did it for me. I think I hammered a wall. But everybody here kind of like took things into their own hands. And if I didn't have them, there's just no way. Like this happening to me was the start of a new life. Like literally, I am a completely different person now than I was when you guys first met me. I wake up every day and, well, most days, and I am so happy. There's days where I want to run, like now it's spring and it's nice and I want to go for a run, but that has nothing to do with like this part of things.
Mhm.
If I didn't have you guys, I would have been homeless or in a nursing home. I honestly would have probably killed myself. Not to be like a Debbie Downer, but I wanted to die when this happened.
Wow.
And I'm sorry to say that because I know it's really depressing and horrible.
No, it's real. It's real.
But
And
it's real.
And just the fact that Chive Nation kind of accepted you as one of their own. I think you talked about like Chive Nation Maryland came out and literally was like demoing your house, and
Literally,
they put in so much work.
They all came out. They put in so much work.
So you're actually talking to us from your home, which, you know, could you talk to us about that home? Like, how's it made life easier? What's cool about the home? When did it get finished? Because I know it wasn't right away. Obviously, this took a while.
Yeah, it did take some time. Not as much as you would think, though. I would say after 6 months after demo, it was ready.
Okay.
I did end up in a really bad spot initially when the house was built. My dog just showed up. When the house was finished, I actually went on life support for 17 days and I was in the hospital for like 3 months. And I actually almost didn't come out of that as well because I had a terrible lung infection. And so I didn't get to live here for the first however long.
Yeah.
But when I came home, it was the perfect recovery spot for me. Like my room, my bathroom, my kitchen, it's all 100% accessible to me. I can cook, I can clean, I can, you know, do all the everyday things.
Yeah. It's that independence and
yeah,
that's really priceless, you know.
I feel like a grown up again.
Yeah. Well, that's, you know, I did want to open this up because we've got, you know, maybe 15 more minutes because there's a lot of people out there that probably have questions for you or for you know, Chive Charities team. But before, you know, we get to that, just like, if there's anything that you could say to those donors that donated to your campaign, that have put in blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, all of us have cried some tears, maybe even on this call, just talking to you. But, you know, is there anything that you could say to everybody that's on this call and everybody that's kind of helped you out over the years?
I mean, there's never going to be enough that I can say to you guys. I have tried time and time again to put it into words, and I am just forever like so grateful and so blessed. Like you guys have totally changed my life for the better. I'm a happy person now. I would have been alone in a nursing home, like had this not happened to me. I'm raising my nephew now. I cook for myself every day. You know, I take care of myself. I can do everything on my own that I need to do. And my home is so beautiful. Like, it is so beautiful. I always have this. I don't have a mortgage. Like, I know if all else fails, I'm safe and healthy and in my house.
Absolutely.
And I can't, there's just not enough. There's not enough words to like say how thankful I am for that.
Hey, well, cheers to that. Let's do a little group cheers.
I don't have any alcohol, but
oh,
hey,
man.
cheers.
Now, it looks like we've got 53, 54 people here. Maybe the best way to do this is if you either ask a question in the chat or if you make a reaction and I can kind of see that, maybe I can unmute you or just raise your hand or something like that so I could see you. Bjorn, is that yes? You have a question? Here, I'm going to unmute you. I tried to. That didn't work. Anybody else? Maybe the chat is probably the best way it would be nice to, here we go. Bobby. Hey, Bobby, how's it going, buddy?
It's going great.
Hi,
Nice.
Bobby.
Hey, Melissa.
Love me
So
some Bobby
I
Bright.
seen you way back in 2014, the campaign, because I was deployed at the time in the middle of the Gulf. So when your stuff went live, our internet's not great in the middle of the ocean, but
I imagine.
yeah, phone would be great. But so we were able to get some people to donate to it and everything. And then when I got to see you in the gala, it was even better. And
That was so much fun.
Yeah, that really was. I think that was my second gala that I went to. So, getting to go to the galas and getting to see all you guys, it's great. And of course, getting to see Brian and all them is fun too. But seeing we love you, Brian, but we like to see Melissa more too.
She's a lot better looking than I am.
Yeah, it's just good to see all of our donors. And it's because I've been a donor since, I don't know, 7 years now.
Humble brag.
So my legacy coin, it's one of my favorite coins. I have about 80 something challenge coins since being in the military, but the legacy coin's the big one because I know that I've seen what it does. I've seen what that legacy means. We get to do our donations and everything, but we also get to see the end product. A lot of these things you'll donate to for charities and stuff, but you don't really see the end product.
Right.
We not only get to see it, some lucky people get to be part of it. So the people that got to demolition stuff at your house, which that would have been so much fun. It's being able to be a part of something and actually do something with it, not just give the money, but actually give blood, sweat, and tears to it, So also, we want to see the dog too. I see he's got a cone head going on.
My poor baby. He does.
Aw.
He had to get neutered and then he got infected.
Well, thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
Anybody else? Raise a hand. I'm trying to cycle through here. I know RP's got to have something to say. Robert, I'm just going to unmute you because you're awesome, man. You can.
A million things I could say to Melissa, right? From the start of all this, that was from the house to the finished house to being there when it was done, putting extra little things up. The galas, your sister going to the gala, the one year you couldn't come.
Yeah, that sucked.
That was a sad moment, but hey, we're all still here, so it's a great thing. I just wanted to tell you I love you.
I love you.
You're an awesome person. Everyone here is awesome. I love all of you. Brian, I don't know what he's doing over there. That he must be doing workouts every day because he still looks like he weighs 10 pounds.
I don't know about that.
Chasing after all those kids.
Yeah, that's true. 3 kids.
But just everything. I think I started following everything with the charity side more so when the Zoe story happened.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2012, December 11th.
The earlier one, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that one touched me more to watch and get more into it. But when it came really close to home and it got going with yours, it got a hell of a lot more personal and a lot more feelings involved in it because you're actually, like Bobby said, unfortunately he was overseas when it was happening, but to be able to come and help with stuff, it's amazing.
Yeah. Thanks,
I'm
Robert.
Words. Sorry.
No, you're all good. Thank you so much. Cheers, buddy. Rob, good to see you, buddy. You're asking where most of the new members are coming from. Most of our members come in as a result of some sort of story. Obviously, for longevity's sake, for future, we're trying to diversify and not be so reliant on the Chive's megaphone. That being said, like, that's who we are. That's always going to be a big part of what we are. The Chive has new things going on with like atmosphere in Chive TV, and that's something that we're trying to tap into as well. I mean, they're getting in front of 40, 50 million people every single month. That compared with, with the Chive, they've seen a huge jump in numbers because, surprise, surprise, people are at home and they're on the internet all day. So the Chive is having some of the biggest months they've ever actually had, which says a lot. So,
just real quick, Brian, I've actually had a lot of people message me about the Chive TV.
Chive TV, yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and maybe you've actually seen it, and they're messaging you because we actually put like a 15 to 20 second version of the Melissa Smith story up on Chive TV. But it's tough because, these are people that are in bars, restaurants, they're sitting in salons, they're in gyms, and it's not necessarily, I would hope that you go to these places to be social and you're not like having your phone out. So, how do you convert someone from seeing a 20, 30-second ad about Melissa Smith, on a TV to getting on their phone, going to Chive Charities? So that's what we're trying to like figure out right now. That's kind of a peek into one of the future campaigns and programs that we'll be trying to figure that out as we go forward. So if anybody has any recommendations, let me know. Erica is our Director of Strategic Development. Want to unmute her. This fireside chat was actually her idea. So want to hear from you.
Yeah, well, Rob had asked too, how can you help us grow? So I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Really, it's about awareness. It's like, if you didn't know who Melissa Smith was before, like now you know. I just like sobbed like a baby listening to you talk, Melissa, and I know your story inside and out. And I've been with Chive Charities for 4 years now. So if you hear one of our stories, one that is from 5 years ago, if you read one this week, share it with the people that right now we're living in such uncertainty, and I feel like these stories every week for our Chive Charities team, they just posture us in humbleness, and they sort of like anchor you. It's like, that, all right, so much can be going on in this world, but if you're a member of Chive Charities, you're anchored in something really good. You're doing good. Every single week we're helping somebody. So just sharing our story, I think that really organically helps us grow. If you work for a company that has a company match program, then that's a way to get our information in front of employees. You can always, send an introductory email between, me and your HR, and we will get our program out to all of your employees. We can share our stories with them. We can create a newsletter for them. But I would say, number one, just share why you love Chive Charities with your friends and family. If you see one of our stories, post it on your social media channels. Get more eyeballs on it, because really the number one way that we grow, that Brian said, it's through our stories. They inspire people. They compel them to donate. And that's what helps us continue to grow and to continue impacting lives every single week. Yeah. So great question. And if anybody has any other questions about that or wants to have a one-on-one chat about growth and about trying to recruit other donors, please don't hesitate to shoot me an email and we can set up a time to talk.
So Erica probably emailed half of you. For those of you that don't know, she's just Erica with a K at chivecharities.org. I'm Brian, BRIAN, at chivecharities.org. Jen is Jen. I think I've got Jen, JENN, JENN, at chivecharities.org for you. So feel free to reach out to us at any time. We love connecting with all of you anytime. Speaking of other ways to give, people are probably ordering more on Amazon now than they ever have before. So if you ever use Smile, Amazon Smiles, all you have to do is go to smile.amazon.com and select Chive Charities as your charity of choice. And, we've seen, $5,000 come in every 3 months, which is huge. Like, that's an extra recipient that we can help. And we've got a lot of things on the horizon. Things that are hopefully going to help us grow a little bit more. But like she said, telling your friends is huge. For every 20 to 25 donors we get, like over the span of a year, that's an extra person that we can help. And, I touched on the fact that we say yes to 16 to 22 recipients every 3 to 4 months. Well, what, the sad thing is we say no to 20 to 30 people. And our goal right now is to get that number down to 0, because everybody, by the time they get to that board selection committee, is worthy of help. And so, a lot of people we keep in the queue just in case, there's some more donors that come in, just in case we get that sponsorship. And that's the best call to make. Somebody that you said, sorry, we just don't have the budget right now. And then a month or 2 later, you come back. It's like, actually, because our community is so amazing, we can actually come out and help you. So, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This is probably might even end us. So I just want to end on one more cheers for everybody. I'm just going to go ahead and unmute everybody if I can.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, go ahead.
As we cheers, can we also cheers to David?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys know David Cosner, but he and I were very, very close, and losing him was a huge loss for me and to the world. Honestly, he has touched so many.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get emotional, so cheers.
Yeah. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody. Thanks, everybody, again.
Cheers.
Yeah. Hey, and if you're bored on Saturday, check out my buddy Hamill. He's doing songs about parenting this weekend.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. We are basically, I think there was a pretty good response here. Somebody asked, when are we going to do this again? And, we were thinking maybe once every couple of weeks. Hey, maybe we'll do another one next week. I hope everybody stays safe. I hope everybody stays sane. And thanks again. Again, reach out for anything you guys need. Thanks a lot.